All right. Something of a continuation, if you will. The last time that I had Vaesen spotlighted on here, I had went over kind of what I was doing and how I was playing solo with the Solo Thursday's Child solo rules, which, again, if you have not tried Vaesen solo, I highly recommend it. Feels like reading a mystery novel for the first time. That's the best I can sort of describe it to those that can't wrap their head around solving a mystery by yourself. You are a player who's along for your character's journey as they discover things and as the world opens up in front of them. So you, the game, and also your character have no idea what is going to lead to what. And I'm about to kind of showcase that actually with my latest couple of sessions I had played. My character Prastrid, Gregorius, he joined the society after a scandal with his social group and his family. And he joined mostly because, well, he had, as I had described in the previous episode, he has the sight because of a horrible interaction with a giant and the loss of a loved one. But that wasn't the scandal or anything like that. But he is haunted by that scandal. We haven't really delved into that too much. I've been kind of focusing on the mechanical nature of trying to play a mystery solo, so I haven't really delved too much into my character's backstory and his dark secret and motivation per se. But one of the reasons why he's even doing these things is his motivation is to become famous or well known and or respected. So he sees the society as a way to do that. So one of the things that I want to go over is, well, what you can see here is a kind of overview of what I did to the actual Vaesen GM screen. I actually cut out the tables and charts that I would use, along with a self-made chart of names that were vaguely Scandinavian or were already in the books. Oddly enough, I made this not realizing that there were an NPC table of names in the back of the core rule book. I spent way too much time in this table, but I have the mental states table that's in the solo. All of these tables here come from this book, and I even reprinted this out to have the Vaesen clues and the misdeed and the environment, these tables off to the side as well. So I don't actually need this copy of the book really anymore. Just in case I want to check out the rules, but there's not really much to it. So I just cut everything out and I laid it out the way that made sense for me and how I like to play. What my character did, Prastrid, and here's my journal, my Vaesen journal. Prastrid journeyed, and it's basically impossible to read any of this. But Uppsala is right out there. Stockholm is right around there. He got this, what's it called? The the invitation. There we go. So we opened up with an invitation from a baroness, a lady of an estate, all the way in Christiania in Norway, and that is the then current capital of Norway. And so he took a couple days journey to get there by train. Along the way, he studied he studied and learned an advantage using his wow, words are not working today. His writing utensils. So he had a bonus to investigation rolls and such. So I have a list of characters and locations that we've been to, and then I wrote out the flow of the mystery and procedures for gameplay in my journal here. And I always start with create a society member, which I already did, and then create a mystery to solve, which the mystery to solve for this particular thing was a noble woman with a large estate found dead livestock behind her general store. And the invitation came with a nailed box with a bottle filled with the remains of a wolf head that was sort of is this the animal that did this kind of thing. But then we open with the invitation, the prologue, the arrival, the mystery itself, and the epilogue. And where I last left off the episode before was that we had just started the mystery itself. He had done a bunch of pre-planning, and he done basically all the prologue stuff. He did some research about various Vaesen that would kill dead livestock, earned his first clue on what it might be, and then he had all these various things that happened on the journey to the estate. And so I guess I'm going to do a recap of what had happened on this journey, and it's kind of interesting. I found it very interesting, and things kind of twisted and turned a couple of times I just didn't see coming, which was kind of cool. So we have Prastrid arrive at the Brugge estate, talking to Eline Brugge, and I got her stats as flirtatious and a little dim-witted, and she was currently brooding over a loss of somebody. And with a little bit of good rolling and investigation, and also motivation or manipulation rather, Prastrid got some information out of her where she was she had a storied affair, and she made a deal with a spirit Vaesen who was on her property to help her woo a fellow, but he is now missing, and Prastrid's first instinct was to ask, well, was it the Vaesen who stole the missing lover? And this spirits aren't known for killing livestock, so the livestock thing seems like an odd sort of thing that happens. So we have two clues. We have a spirit and a missing person, and also the dead livestock and the wolf's head. So we got some conflicting things here. But he finds a page of a diary, and effectively it's her spilling her guts to this Soren Lukonen is the missing lover. He's confident, but forgetful. So maybe he got lost and lost his way back, right? You know, he got confident in hiking somewhere, and he was last seen on the property, but there was no signs of spirits in the house either. That unfortunately was a failed investigation roll. So even if there was, Prastrid didn't find anything. And so that was the end of the first major scene. And what I did then was I wanted to go to the scene of the original crime, the general store, if you will. And that is where the dead livestock were found. Behind the general store is where they have a pen. And the store clerk, bad-tempered but trustworthy, so probably just having a bad day, with some really good manipulation rolls. My character's manipulation is pretty high. Can't remember exactly what it is. Manipulation, so total is empathy is 4 plus manipulation is 2. So we got 6. Then if he's ever bartering or buying anything, it's actually 7 dice. So the odds of success are pretty good. And so he learns basically that Mr. Lindbergh, which is the store clerk, knows Soren Lukonin. And the regular hours of the store are kind of up and like running, so the dead livestock hasn't affected business per se. So the store wasn't its main, or the Vaesen's main focus. It was the livestock or something. So if the store is operational and everything like that, that leads Prastrid's idea of, well, maybe it's about this missing lover after all. But last, and he learns that Mr. Soren was last seen by a local riverbed, but seeing him there was odd and not usual. So maybe this was part of his hiking thing that he wanted to do. And this was just me, the player, thinking, well, why would somebody who doesn't want to be by a river be there? But he's confident and forgetful, so maybe he was told to go there. You know, we don't know really yet. So we have my character digesting this information and not really getting anything more out of the store clerk, turns around and goes to the Riverside Glen, the area in which the missing lover was last seen. And so I have my character find his way there. It's not that hard to get there, but he gets a success in trying to look for clues. But before he could kind of get a closer look on things, a rural, that's such a hard word for me to say, rural mystic, a seer basically by the name of Elsa Bagholt, someone who is very choice with her words, but extremely perceptive, spits out in between yellowed teeth, "This place is cursed! Back away! Back away!" And what was wild is that I wanted to know what this curse was, and if it was cursed. So I asked the oracle, basically, if it was cursed, and I flipped the card, and it was a red card, so that's yes. And then I looked at the if it's helpful, and I think it was a jack or something like that, or maybe if it was a 10, but it was helpful or very helpful. So knowing that this place is cursed is helpful. So I had my character do a learning roll to kind of put some pieces together. And then I rolled 3 times on the keywords, and I I got magic spirit creature. So, so we got a magical spirit creature that I read as maybe being able to inhabit or possess a living being, and this started to click. And even though all this stuff was good information, Prastrid couldn't put together why this person was so the mystic at the riverbed was so venomous about people leaving this place. And because this Elsa did not know Mr. Luconin at all, but also wasn't hostile toward either Luconin or my characters. She was just kind of protecting people from this place. That's kind of how I rolled with that. But the clue found was a torn map of a place Prastrid has never seen before. So an unknown map to an unknown place. And we wrapped that scene up, and my character is a little stumped. There's more and more mystery than originally thought. 2 cases of a spirit being the cause of ire around here. And I started to think, well, maybe it is a spirit. So I personally went to the Vaesen, bestiary, and I looked at all the kind of spirit and the ephemeral type of Vaesen. And while I got some good ideas, I tried not to, keep them, because the narrative could have led these as false leads, right? So, of note, we got a cursed riverbank, and an unknown map to an unknown place, and Elsa, like, who is she? What's the deal with her, right? But there's no signs of the missing lover, and there's no signs of struggles or anything, but there is that map, and maybe he was using that map. So I had ended that session, and I said, what happens next? And I took a break, and I came back, and I then played outside. I think I had posted a community post, and I had shared that I had focused on this game, and I was playing outside, and I got to finish the mystery. And that's exactly what's going to happen next here. So now we know that there's a missing lover, but this map, right? So Prastrid thing goes, well, the local sheriff might have some information on what this place looks like, and this, this person who's been missing for a couple of days now. So Rut Jarv, or Yarv, the county sheriff, originally met Prastrid when he got off of the wagon, and was going up to the Brugge estate. Was initially bad-tempered because he had other things to do. But now he's at the office, and I rolled, or not rolled, but I flipped the card over to see if he was helpful, and he was. So thankfully, that was a helpful NPC that I got from the direction of the mystery roll, which is this. And this is a really nice table to use with a deck of cards to, whenever you are kind of unsure on how to proceed on what to do next with your character, you can just flip a card and then read what it says here. And it kind of gives you a good direction. Like after a scene completes, then you flip a card, and then this kind of tells you where to go on your next scene, which is kind of cool. So I got helpful NPC, which I interpreted as being the sheriff himself. So I asked if I made a manipulation roll that was going to be challenging, so 2 successes, but because it's being helpful, I just needed 1, success, and my manipulation roll was pretty good. So I got him to share with Prastrid the rule mystic was named Elsa, that not to worry about her. She was once a fine performer fine performance dancer, but went a bit mad after a spirit encounter. Now, he doesn't believe in spirits or magical stuff, but that is what has been told in the circle. So she's just a mad woman to him, but she also had an encounter with a spirit. So more and more, the game is telling me, and then also telling Prastrid, that it is a spirit of some sort. And what is this spirit doing? And making deals with people, cursing people. It's very interesting. And then he shows the county sheriff the map. And I rolled to see, or not rolled. I keep saying rolled because that's just what I'm used to saying. But I flipped the card to see if it was going to be helpful for Sheriff Jarv. And I had, yes, leads to a wildflower meadow, not far from the outskirts of the riverbank. What's of note here is that I learned at some point that the Brugge estate was pretty big, and both the wildflower meadow and the riverbank were all within the Brugge estate's property, and that will come into play down the road. And so I had my character do a learning roll, which I rolled 8 dice for, which is awesome. And I got a success. I got 4 successes. So he puts together various things: a vengeful spirit, wildflower meadow, and a missing lover. And then I wrote Vaesen encounter. So maybe we know that there definitely is going to be a Vaesen that might be at this wildflower meadow, and maybe Mr. Lukonen, the missing lover, was going to be there. We don't know. So he wanted to go back to the Brugge estate with the new information to Mrs. Brugge, and tell her not to worry and inspire her to be less brooding and stuff, and learns about the more about the spirits and its demands, and it's green and it flies and it stays around the property, but goes out for miles. So the property is massive. And then I rolled, or rather, I kind of put those clues together, and I kind of put 2 and 2 together myself, but also I made a learning roll, which I failed on, and I pushed, and I became angry and frightened. So Prastrid was like kind of mentally exhausted, like mentally worn down from this. That even though he's making progress, it's taking a lot out of him. So that was kind of the first sort of damage done to him. He was pushing rolls just to get the information out of people or to put 2 and 2 together. But he finally put 2 and 2 together, and on 162, I want to share the art for this just because it's really awesome. The Will-o'-the-Wisp is effectively the creature that I had settled on, that was the Vaesen, that was part of the misdeed. So, that being said, I didn't read too much of this. I had read this book cover to cover quite a while ago, but I didn't remember everything. So one thing I did read was that the magical powers of the Will-o'-the-Wisp has a magical lantern, and it can use the cursed lure, and all who see the light of the lantern are affected and led out into the woods toward a lake or a marsh. And so that kind of solidified, yes, it's definitely this Will-o'-the-Wisp, and the Will-o'-the-Wisp can also make deals, and I think that's exactly what happens here. So effectively, what I am here to figure out is how can my character deal with this Will-o'-the-Wisp that has effectively cursed the land and has taken a missing an ill-gotten lover by Mrs. Bruges. So I tried to get Eileen Bruges on the same page, but she just wanted her her affair back. So I started to play so I got a musical instrument as part of my character creation. So I played the harmonica to try to inspire her, and thankfully that worked. So she started to feel a little bit better, and then went with me to the confrontation at the Wildflower Meadow. And effectively, the discussion between the Will-o'-the-Wisp and Eileen Bruges, with my character Prastrid Gregorius as the mediator. This is very interesting. Like, I anticipated my character having to fight or to banish or to sort of swindle the Vaesen, but I got Eileen to come on board to kind of rehash the deal that she made and made the trouble for. And unfortunately, the will of the wisp would leave the area if Eileen lets her lover go. So that's kind of how I interpreted some of the roles and some of the tables that I had was using the cards for. So the curse on her land would lift, and her property would remain safe for now, but she had to let her lover go. And that like up in the air thing is kind of sour a bit for Prastrid. There's just an unknown mystery on what happened to him. He's got a pretty good idea that he definitely was lured to the riverbank and then drowned, and so there was no evidence of him there. So that's kind of where it ends, where Eileen gets her property back to normal, and the wolves and the vengeful spirits wouldn't attack her livestock and entice visitors to her estate out into the woods anymore. And it was a mystery of her own doing. Basically the saying is she suffered on her own petard, right? So the aftermath of this whole thing is on the journey back. I basically had Prastrid just be thankful that he doesn't have anyone like that in his life. A dim-witted but flirtatious and brooding woman who had a lost affair that made a deal with a Vaesen and caused all sorts of strife. And on his way back, he is still exhausted and angry and frightened. But it was time to unwind and take a well-earned respite from Vaesen and their politics. So during all of this, my character earned 8 total XP and 4 total, what's the term, distribution points for the castle. I can't remember what it's called. I think it's called development points. So he earned 4 development points for the castle of Skittlehift Castle. And he spent 5 of his 8 to gain 6th sense, which allows him to learn more about Vaesen during his investigations, which makes sense because he was very frustrated during that last adventure or that last mystery. And so picking up the 6th sense talent made sense. So for every success past the first one, he will learn extra Vaesen info, and if magic was used. So he'll be able to pick up on magical effects and things like that. So that'll be interesting going down the road. And for the castle, because I was playing solo, I had the castle start with the library and the Annals of the Society, which when you record the session, experiences to gain an extra XP per character. So basically, I get 1 free XP on top of everything else after every mystery. So I got the map room, which one, I love maps. It just made sense, for my character to have these spaces within the library that have all these information things. And the map, whenever we gain an advantage, we also gain an old map. So we could use this old map as like to help us, navigate somewhere or to find a place or anything. So that'll be interesting. So that was the mechanics of the Aftermath. And then that's kind of where my character is. He is currently in Uppsala again, staying at the castle and kind of cleaning the library and stuff. He's talking with Elgot, the butler, and Linnea, the caretaker. And I think my next game session will probably be a short sort of interlude where he learns more about the town of Uppsala and stuff, and then I'm gonna roll up a new mystery for him to solve and start this whole thing all over again. This system is so much fun, and the fact that I put my little cheat sheet on my journal helps a lot too. The flow of the mystery and the flow of the procedures, for me personally, is kind of important to keep me interested and not scattered all over the place. And I love the fact that I decided to print out the essential tables and stuff and put them on the GM screen for Vaesen, and it's keeping me vested in the game, which is really cool. So that whole thing, this particular mystery was called the Brugge Incident, and I think I'm going to continue doing that. And my next entry will start here on page 33 of my book. This little empty spot will be my interlude space, and then I'm going to roll up a new mystery, an invitation, and all that fun stuff. So I think that's where I'm going to leave it for today for Vaesen. Like I said in the last video, the Vaesen videos are effectively going to be a retelling of my journaling experience, because this is one of the few games where I've turned it into more of a journal experience for me and my character. I don't write in like I saw this and everything like that. I write as Prastrid did this. Some of the notes are the skills and the abilities and stuff, but most of it is just new information for the various mysteries and stuff like that. So I think that's all. Oh, actually, what I do want to do is, I know that what I want to do going forward is run some more randomly generated mysteries, but the solo rules for the game unfortunately only natively include the Vaesen that is in the core book, and I have all the other books. I have the Mythic, Britain and Ireland, and I kind of want to run an adventure in this one as well, and use not the adventure in here, but I want to do this map of the plan of London. If you just, it would be so cool to do like an urban mystery solving with some spirit revenant or some, I don't know. It'd be really cool to do that. I don't think it would be too hard to make another like table for the clues, because all that you really need to do is use these books as your research books when you are in a place that your character can research, right? And in theory, you wouldn't even need these tables because all this information is in those books. So for example, I guess I'm going to go off a little bit. I haven't ended this session because I want to kind of expand on an idea of mine. So let's look at the Vaesen table clue for a ghost. You know, people are having trouble sleeping at night. Strange noises are heard in the village. It suddenly gets unusually cold. And so the Vaesen for this particular, all these clues, if it meets all or most of them, it's probably going to be a ghost, okay? And the same thing is that there's misdeeds that that these things can do. Like a ghost is part of inexplicable weather phenomenon. So these tables right here, the misdeed, I like this list, and you can just take these lists and add all the Vaesen that you learn through your research of going to the books themselves. And I would say, even solo-wise, just to keep it the mystery alive, is that your character doesn't access this, and you don't read the bestiary until you are in a library or a noble's estate that might have a book, and you can roll on an oracle or flip a card for the solo oracle to see if they have one. And then you would go to the bestiary and look up and read, like, oh, it's not a giant. Yeah, let's see examples of what they do. Oh, the lindworm. Ah, maybe it's the lindworm. Okay, so you can read about their abilities and their secrets and stuff. And that is your character researching the Vaesen, but it's also you learning about them at the same time. So it feels like research. It feels like that you are learning something while you are playing. And it's immersive as all get out. It slows the game, if you will, but a mystery is a slow burn anyway, isn't it? So that's what I did. I actually like looked at the book and I sat here for like 10 minutes reading about the Will-o'-the-Wisp and reading other like entries that it might be. And at that time, I was in the Brugge's estate, and I just said yes, that she had a library. And because she most likely had this site or was affected by a Vaesen, maybe she already had a book on stuff. So that was my rationale. But you can always just use this in the prologue at the castle or whatever is the interlude space, the society's headquarters, the castle or whatever. And then you can research in the book itself, the actual book, about the various Vaesen that could affect your current mystery. So in that fashion, you don't technically need the last bits of the solo Thursday's Child tables. These tables are helpful, especially just the way that they're laid out. I actually like them, and you roll on you flip a card on them when you want to, or if you are told that you gain a clue about the Vaesen. So, and there's the environments, and there's just the kinds of things that happen with specific ones. And this format is pretty easy to make too. You can do this yourself. And I actually plan to expand this into like an ever-growing library for my castle in the actual game itself. So right now, my character has learned about the Will o' the Wisp, and so I have an entry about the Will o' the Wisp, page 162. So if I just need to reference it, I can. Encountered during the Brugge Incident, July 3rd through July 6th. So I do loosely date my journal entries in the game. Again, it gives a sense of time and also pressure if a date was important to a mystery. I made date not very important for this particular mystery just because I didn't want an extra thing to keep track of. So, but yeah, I think that is actually that is it. I highly recommend the Solo Thursday's Child solo rules for Vaesen, and I do believe that you can use them alongside any of the supplements that add more Vaesen, and you can run any other themed stuff based on those mysteries. And so that's pretty cool. The one thing I will note that is if I go to Britain and Ireland, I really need to make sure I just use tables that utilize those Vaesen. It would be interesting to kind of mix and match them. If you want a more fantastical world to run, and if you're not really concerned about being in Scandinavia or the islands specifically, if you just want a bunch of cool Vaesen to interact with, then go for it. But I think I will end that here today. I've kind of talked my own ear off for this evening, and this has been a conclusion of the Brugge Incident with my character Prastrid in the game Vaesen. Until next time, folks, I'll see you on the flip side. Peace.